The lake had always been peaceful. People fished there on weekends, couples strolled hand in hand along the bank, and kids splashed around in the shallows like nothing bad could ever happen. But peace turned into whispers after what happened 5 months ago. It was a clear Sunday morning when Marissa and her daughter Lily went out on the boat. Marissa, a single mother of 33, had taken her little girl fishing ever since she was 5. That day was supposed to be special. It was Lily's 9th birthday. They packed sandwiches, wore their matching blue life jackets, and promised to bring home the biggest fish they'd ever caught. But they never came back. The search lasted 2 weeks. The boat was found drifting near the east shore with a fishing rod still hanging over the side. There was blood, small streaks on the edge of the boat, but no sign of the 2 bodies. Divers combed the depths, helicopters scanned the trees, and dogs sniffed the shorelines. Nothing, not even a shoe. It was as if the lake swallowed them whole and didn't want to give them back. Locals were heartbroken. Some were terrified. Rumors started fast. People said the lake had a curse. Others whispered about creatures in the deep. A few believed Marissa ran off to escape something, maybe an abusive ex, maybe a secret life. But those who knew her best said no way. Marissa loved her daughter more than life itself. If she ran, she'd never leave Lily behind. By winter, the story started to fade. The water froze over, and the lake grew quiet again. But the silence didn't last long. It was early April when Raymond Tucker, a 54-year-old fisherman, came back to his favorite spot. He'd been fishing there for years. Same wooden dock, same rusty tackle box, same old thermos full of strong black coffee. Ray was a simple man, lived alone in a small cabin nearby and didn't talk much, but the folks in town trusted him, said he had a good heart, just buried under a weathered face. That morning, just as the mist began to lift off the water, Ray saw something strange about 20 feet from the shore. At first it looked like a bag floating on the surface, maybe trash caught in the reeds. But it wasn't moving like trash. It drifted slow, too controlled. He squinted, lowering his fishing rod. The shape was small, child-sized, pale. Ray stood up. "What the hell?" He dropped his rod and grabbed his old binoculars from the bench behind him. When he focused, his breath caught. It was a little girl, or something that looked like one, floating just beneath the surface, her hair swaying in the current, eyes wide open. Ray stumbled back, heart pounding. He'd seen death before, he was no stranger to it, but this felt different. The girl's eyes weren't lifeless. They were watching. Before he could move, the shape vanished. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. The water rippled once, like something large had slid beneath the surface. He backed away slowly, shaking, confused. Had he imagined it? Was his mind playing tricks after all those stories? Or had he just seen what no one else could for 5 months? Either way, Ray knew one thing for sure: the lake hadn't finished with its secrets. Ray didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, turning the same thought over and over in his head. What did I see? The more he tried to reason with himself, the more the image kept burning its way back into his mind. Those lifeless eyes, open but full of something that didn't belong in a child's face. It wasn't just fear. It was like she had seen too much, like she wanted to be found or warn someone. The next morning, Ray decided to keep his mouth shut, for now. He'd lived long enough to know that in a small town, a story like that could spread like fire through dry grass. He wasn't ready to be the crazy old man who claimed to see ghosts in the lake. He needed proof. He returned to the dock the same hour as before, same spot, same rod. This time he brought a pair of binoculars, a GoPro camera he hadn't touched in years, and a waterproof flashlight. If whatever he saw came back, he'd be ready. The water, however, gave him nothing. 3 days passed. Each day, he returned, hoping, dreading, watching. On the 4th day, something changed, not in the water but on the shore. A boy, maybe 16, showed up around noon and sat quietly at the opposite end of the lake with a fishing pole that looked too clean to be used often. Ray noticed him right away, not because the boy looked suspicious, but because he didn't seem to belong. He didn't fish, didn't eat, didn't check his phone. He just sat, watching the water. On the second day, the boy appeared again. Same spot. This time, Ray walked over. "Good fishing spot," Ray said, nodding toward the water. The boy didn't look at him. "I'm not here to fish," he muttered, barely above a whisper. Ray furrowed his brow. "Then what brings you?" "Out here?" The boy hesitated. "I saw her too." That stopped Ray cold. He felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. "You saw who?" he asked, his voice rough with suspicion. "The girl. In the water." "She was looking at me," the boy said, finally meeting Ray's eyes. "She's not dead." Ray studied him carefully. The boy didn't look crazy. In fact, he looked scared. Real scared. "What's your name?" "Ethan," he replied. "I live on the east side." Ray nodded slowly. "I saw her about 5 days ago. Thought I was going out of my damn mind." Ethan looked relieved, like someone had just taken a weight off his chest. "Everyone thinks I'm making it up. My dad told me to stop coming here." Ray sat down beside him on the cold bench. "Tell me exactly what you saw." Ethan took a breath. "It was around sunset. I was biking past the lake. I heard splashing, but not like a fish. It was deeper, like something was moving fast under the water. Then I saw her. Blonde hair, eyes wide open, maybe 10 feet from the shore. I froze. She didn't look scared. Just blank. But when I blinked, she was gone." Ray rubbed his jaw. It matched what he'd seen almost too well. "You know who she was?" Ethan asked. "Yeah," Ray said slowly. "Her name was Lily. Her and her mom went missing on this lake 5 months ago." Ethan nodded, as if he already knew. "People say it was an accident." Ray looked out over the still water. "Doesn't feel like an accident, does it?" Ethan shook his head. That night, Ray decided he couldn't keep this to himself anymore. Something was happening at the lake, something unnatural, and it was only a matter of time before someone else saw it, or worse, got pulled in. He grabbed an old box from under his bed. Inside were photos, old notebooks, and newspaper clippings. Years ago, Ray had researched strange things in the area. Stories about unexplained drownings, boats found adrift with no one aboard, shadows seen beneath the water. He flipped through the yellowed papers. One story caught his eye. 1979. 2 campers vanish, boat found near same shoreline. No bodies recovered. The lake had a history, a dark one. Suddenly, a loud knock rattled his front door. Ray tensed. He wasn't expecting anyone. When he opened it, a woman stood there, soaked from the rain, eyes wild with panic. "You're Raymond Tucker?" she asked quickly. He nodded. "Who's asking?" "My name's Dana Wells. I'm Marissa's sister, Lily's aunt. I need your help." Ray blinked in surprise. "Come in, you're soaked." She stepped inside, dripping water onto the wooden floor. "I came back to town because I heard you saw something," she said, voice shaking. "Ethan told me." Ray frowned. "You know Ethan?" "He's my neighbor's kid. He told me what he saw, said you saw the same thing. I needed to see for myself." Ray offered her a towel. "What is it you're hoping to find?" Dana looked him dead in the eye. "My sisters, not dead. And neither is Lily. I think they're still out there, but not in the way we understand. And I think someone or something is keeping them under." Ray stared at her. This wasn't just about an accident anymore. Something was wrong with that lake, and they were running out of time to stop. Whatever it was before it pulled someone else under. Ray poured Dana a cup of coffee, his hands steady even though his mind raced. She clutched the mug like it was the only thing grounding her. "I've been looking into the lake for months," she said. "Quietly. I didn't want to attract attention. People already treat me like I'm crazy just for saying Marissa wouldn't. Do something reckless." Ray sat across from her, arms folded. "What made you so sure they didn't drown?" Dana hesitated, then reached into her soaked bag and pulled out a file folder. Inside were satellite photos, weather reports, and one blurry black and white image that made Ray's stomach turn. It was the lake, taken at night. In the middle of the photo, something humanoid floated just beneath the surface. You could barely make out a face. "I took this 3 weeks ago," Dana said. "I've got a friend who works with wildlife. Surveillance drones. He owed me a favor. We spotted this just after midnight. The drone sensors picked up movement, fast, like something bolted through the water. Ray leaned in. The image matched what he saw. What Ethan saw. And yet somehow it felt older, like whatever was under there had been there a long time. I used to hear my grandfather tell stories about this place, Dana added. He said the water was cursed, that something ancient slept. Under it, I never believed him until now. Ray took a deep breath. Then we're not just dealing with a haunting, we're dealing with something alive. Dana nodded. Something that takes people. That same night, Ray, Dana, and Ethan met at the lake under cover of darkness. No flashlights, just the moonlight low and pale like it didn't want to see what they were about to uncover. They brought the GoPro, an underwater drone Dana borrowed, and a small motorboat Ray kept tied near the dock. The water was silent. Not even frogs croaked. It was as if the lake was holding its breath. They motored to the exact spot where Ray and Ethan had seen the girl. Ethan, though trying to act brave, kept looking over his shoulder. Dana handled the drone, dropping it carefully into the water. It sank without a splash. "Sonar's active," she said. "We'll scan down to 30 feet." Ray steered them in slow circles, while Dana watched the monitor. 10 minutes passed, nothing. Then all at once the screen glitched. Static shot across it like a TV losing signal. Then shapes began to appear, dozens of them, blurry, moving, slowly beneath the surface. "Oh my God," Dana whispered. "That's not fish." Ray leaned in. Figures, human-shaped. Some were lying still on the lakebed. Others floated slightly above, drifting like they were caught in some invisible net. But they weren't decaying. Their skin looked pale, but intact. Eyes closed, peaceful. Too peaceful. "They're asleep," Ethan muttered, or hypnotized. Dana's hands shook as she adjusted the camera. Suddenly one of the shapes moved fast, straight toward the drone. A girl, blonde hair, open eyes. Lily. Then the screen went black. "Cut power," Ray growled. "Pull it back up." Dana did, reeling the drone in. When it surfaced, the lens was cracked. Deep, claw-like scratches ran down the side. "She attacked it," she said, her voice hollow. "Or something else did when it saw us watching," Ray added. They sat in silence, the boat gently rocking. Ethan broke the stillness. "What if they're not dead, but trapped?" Ray turned. To him. "Trapped in what?" "In something that feeds off them," Ethan said. "Keeps them alive, cast down there." Dana's face paled. "Like a prison." Ray's mind raced. It all fit. The disappearances, the stories, the cold feeling every time he got near the water. The lake wasn't just haunted. It was hostile. Something inside it wanted to keep what it had stolen. Suddenly a ripple broke the stillness behind them. A soft splash. They all turned. Lily. She was standing on the surface of the water. Her bare feet didn't sink. Her pale arms hung at her sides and her wet hair clung to her face. She stared at them, not blinking, not moving. Ray's heart felt like it stopped. Dana whispered, "Lily?" Lily tilted her head slowly. Ray reached for the camera but stopped. The air was heavy like it had thickened around them. The boat creaked softly as Lily took a step forward, still standing on the water. Ethan whispered, "She's not alone." Behind Lily, more figures rose, standing just under the surface. Women, men, a few children, all with the same glassy eyes. Ray's breath caught. "It's the others." Lily lifted her hand, just a little, a small gesture, and that's when Ray felt it, a voice in his head. Not words exactly, just pressure, urgency, pain. Dana gasped. "She's trying to speak to us." Ethan clutched his head. "She's screaming." The boat shook as ripples expanded across the water. Ray gripped the side, eyes wide. Then Lily mouthed something, one word. "Run!" A moment later, the water exploded beneath them. The boat flipped. One moment they were staring at Lily, and the next they were thrown into the freezing water, limbs tangled, gasping for air. The lake, which had been eerily calm seconds before, had become violent. Waves thrashing like something deep below was thrumming with fury. Ray surfaced first, sputtering, kicking to stay afloat. "Dana! Ethan!" He saw Dana pop up, coughing and clawing toward the overturned boat. I got it!" she gasped, grabbing hold of the edge. Ethan didn't answer. Ray spun around in the water, panic cutting through him like ice. "Ethan!" A few yards away, the boy broke the surface, arms flailing. Something was pulling him back under. Ray didn't think. He just swam. Years of fishing, hauling gear, and surviving alone had hardened his body. But this was different. Whatever had Ethan wasn't letting go. Ray dove, his eyes stinging from the murky water. He saw it, something long and black wrapped around Ethan's ankle like a living shadow. A tendril, thick and slick, pulsing like muscle. Ray grabbed it, yanking with everything he had. It resisted. Then, with a soundless snap, it let go. Ethan shot upward and Ray followed. They surfaced, gasping. Ray dragged Ethan toward Dana, who pulled them onto the half-sunken boat. What the hell was that? Dana panted. Ray looked over his shoulder. The water had gone still again, perfectly still. No ripples, no figures. Lily was gone. The others, too. It was like it never happened. "Something lives in there," Ray said through clenched teeth. "Something that doesn't want to be seen." Dana shivered, her hands shaking violently. "She told us to run." Ethan nodded. "I heard it. It wasn't just in my head. She was trying to help us." Ray stared down at the water. "Which means part of her is still human, still trying to fight whatever's holding her." They got the boat back to shore, drenched and freezing. No one spoke for a long time. They knew they had crossed a line. Whatever dwelled in the lake had let them see something it had kept hidden for decades, and it didn't like being watched. Back at Ray's cabin, Dana sat huddled in a blanket by the fire while Ethan slept on the couch, his breathing shallow. "She looked right at me," Dana said quietly, like she remembered, like she wanted out. Ray nodded slowly. "You think she's still alive?" Dana hesitated. "I think her body is, but her soul? I don't know. That thing, it's feeding on them, holding them like trophies." Ray leaned forward. "Then we need to pull her out. All of them." Dana's eyes flashed. "You want to go back?" Ray stood. "Not now. Not unprepared, but we can't leave them like this. We saw them. That lake is a graveyard with people still breathing." That night, Dana stayed up, sifting through her grandfather's journals. He'd been a local preacher, quiet, stern, and deeply obsessed with the lake. Everyone thought he'd gone mad near the end. But now Dana saw his ramblings with new eyes. One page chilled her. The water remembers. It takes the lost, the grieving, and the forgotten. They do not drown. They are kept, fed to the thing below, the black root, the watcher in the deep. Dana showed it to Ray. "The black root," Ray murmured. "Sounds like what I saw around Ethan's leg." She nodded. "It's not a spirit, it's alive, ancient and hungry." Ray rubbed his temples. "So how do we kill it?" Dana pointed to another passage. "Only the willingly given can reach the kept. To free them, blood must meet the water by choice. Sacrifice for sacrifice." Ray swallowed hard. "What's that supposed to mean?" Dana's voice was flat. "It means someone has to go in and give themselves up, willingly. Only then can we reach the ones trapped." Ray stared at the flames crackling in the fireplace. He'd spent years alone. No family, no legacy. Just a quiet life and the memory of friends long gone. But that little girl, she had her whole life ahead of her, and Dana, she'd already lost too much. "I'll do it," he said finally. Dana's head snapped up. "Ray, no." "She came to me first," Ray said softly. "She showed me. That means something." Dana's eyes welled with tears. "We'll find another way." Ray shook his head. "We don't have time. The thing knows we're watching now. It'll hide them deeper or worse." In the quiet, Dana didn't argue. She just sat beside him, letting the fire warm their cold bones. Outside, the wind picked up. The lake was awake again, and it was waiting. 3 days passed. The lake never made another sound, no ripples, no sightings, no whispers in the mind. It was as if it had gone dormant. But Ray knew better. He'd felt the rage in that water, the hunger. It hadn't forgotten them. It was watching, waiting for them to slip again. But he was done playing defense. He was going back in. Ray spent the days preparing, not just mentally but practically. He packed weights, rope, a waterproof calm line, and a small chest filled with emergency gear in case Dana or Ethan needed to pull him back fast. He even brought a flare gun, though he wasn't sure what use it would be in the blackness beneath the surface. Dana tried everything to stop him. "You don't have to be the one," she said for the 10th time. "We can wait. Get experts, divers, hell, the Coast Guard if we have to." Ray just looked at her. "They'll laugh. Or worse, they'll call the sheriff. You think this thing's gonna let them find anything?" "No. It hides until it's ready." He saw the pain behind her eyes, but she didn't fight him after that. Ethan had grown quiet. He barely spoke now, but he helped pack. Something about what happened in the lake had changed the boy, hardened him. He was carrying guilt, even though none of this was his fault. The night of the dive, clouds rolled in thick and heavy. The moon was gone. The only light came from the lantern Dana held on the dock, as Ray stood at the water's edge, gear strapped tight, the rope coiled over his shoulder. He stared at the dark water. It stared back. "You sure you want to do this?" Dana asked, softly. Ray nodded. "She told us to run, but I think she also meant, come back when you're ready." "I'm ready." He turned to Ethan, handing him the rope. "If anything pulls too hard, you cut it. Don't try to be a hero." Ethan nodded grimly. Ray took one last breath and stepped into the lake. The cold hit him like a wall. It wasn't just water. It felt thicker, heavier, like it was alive. He sank fast, the weights dragging him downward, deeper than the lake should have allowed. The light above vanished after 30 feet. He flicked on his waterproof headlamp. Murky shapes drifted past him, floating debris, twisted branches, and bones, human bones, ribs, a skull. A child's shoe. His breath echoed in his ears. He was close. Then he saw it. The root. A massive, writhing mass of black tendrils spread out from the lake bed like a nightmare tree, pulsing, twitching, and caught inside it, like insects in amber were the bodies. Women, men, children. Eyes closed but mouths open as if still screaming. And in the center of them all, glowing faintly in the dark, was Lily. Ray kicked harder, fighting back the rising panic. He got close enough to touch the root, but the moment his hand brushed it, pain shot through him like fire. The tendrils reacted instantly, wrapping around his arm. He screamed into his mask. Images filled his mind, flashes of every soul the Ghee. Root had taken, screams, struggles, begging. And beneath it all a single word whispered over and over. "Stay!" Ray fought. He reached into his belt and pulled the blade he'd strapped to his thigh. With a grunt he slashed at the tendril. It recoiled with a hiss that vibrated through the water. He slashed again and again, breaking free. He reached for Lily. Her eyes opened. She looked at him, really looked at him. Her lips moved. "Help me." Ray grabbed her arm. The root didn't like that. It lunged, tendrils shooting toward him like spears. Ray spun, throwing his body, in front of Lily. He pulled the flare gun from his chest strap, aimed at the base of the root, and fired. The lake lit up red. The tendrils shrieked, a high-pitched scream that sounded like thousands of voices crying out in agony. The root thrashed wildly, knocking Ray backward. He held tight to Lily's arm, kicking upward with everything. He felt her helping, kicking, swimming. They rose 30 feet, 20, 10. He broke the surface, gasping, dragging Lily with him. "Pull us!" he shouted. Ethan and Dana yanked the rope, stumbling back as Ray and Lily spilled onto the dock, coughing and crying. She was alive. Dana dropped to her knees, sobbing as she clutched her niece. "Oh my God, baby, baby." Lily was shaking, lips blue, eyes wide, but she was breathing. Ray collapsed beside them, coughing up lake water. "We got her." But the lake behind them was boiling. Dana looked up. From the surface, a figure rose. It wasn't a person. It was the root itself, part of it. Standing tall like a shadow given flesh. It looked vaguely human, but wrong. Twisted. like all the stolen souls had been blended into one, the Watcher. It stepped toward the dock. Ray rolled over, raised the flare gun again. "You want her? Come and take her, you son of a—" The thing paused. It stared at Lily, and for the first time it hesitated, then it sank. Gone. The lake went still once more. They didn't speak. No one moved. They just sat there, soaked, shaking, alive. And Lily, for the first time in 5 months, whispered, "Thank you." The doctor at the local clinic didn't have many answers. Lily was alive. That much was certain. She had no visible injuries, no signs of prolonged starvation, no brain damage. Her body was chilled and weak, but vital signs were strong. Almost. "Too strong," the doctor said. As if something inside her had kept her perfectly preserved, she barely spoke. Only a few words here and there. Dark. Whispers. Watchful. But it wasn't just trauma. It was like she was hearing something no one else could. Dana stayed by her side every minute. She barely slept. Her hands shook when she held Lily's, and her voice broke every time she called her name. But the girl was there, alive, awake, and yet not entirely the same. Ray knew it wasn't over. The root let her go. It didn't lose her. It chose to let her leave. And that thought kept him awake more than anything else. A week later, Dana found Lily sitting alone by the window, staring out toward the lake. "You okay, baby?" Lily didn't turn her head. "He's lonely." Dana's blood ran cold. "Who?" "The one under the water," Lily said softly. "He showed me things. He made me sleep. He kept us there so he wouldn't be alone." Dana knelt beside her. "What did he show you?" "Memories, sad ones. He cried sometimes." Lily finally looked up at her aunt. Her eyes weren't just innocent anymore. There was something older behind them. "He wasn't always like that," she whispered. "Before the people came." "What people, sweetie?" Lily hesitated. "The ones who hurt him." Ray and Ethan came over when Dana called. They sat around Lily's hospital bed while she told them what she could. "There was a man, long ago," she said. "He lived by the lake. He lost his family in a storm. He prayed for them to come back. But nothing happened. So he gave himself to the water." Dana blinked. "Gave himself." "He walked into the lake, and it took him, made him part of it, like roots growing from pain." Ray leaned forward, his voice low. "And the others, the people it took?" Lily's voice was almost a whisper. "They were like him, sad, lost. The lake calls to people like that. It sings to them when they're weak." Ethan looked pale. "But why keep them?" Lily turned to him, her face suddenly serious in a way no child should be. "Because pain doesn't like to be alone. It makes more." Ray leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. "It feeds on sadness, grief. And once it finds someone," Lily said, "it doesn't let go unless it finds another." The room went cold. Ray understood now. The root hadn't just taken people. It collected sorrow. It needed it. The tendrils weren't random. They wrapped around people at their lowest. And somehow Ray had broken the pattern, because he hadn't gone into the water out of grief. He went with purpose, with sacrifice. "I gave myself willingly," Ray said out loud. Lily nodded. "That's why it let me go. It took your sadness instead." Dana turned to him. "You think it's inside you now?" Ray didn't answer right away. The dreams had started again, the water, the roots, a voice calling to him at night. Yes, it was inside him, not controlling, not yet, but it knew him now. "I think I made a deal I didn't understand," he said quietly. Ethan swallowed hard. "So what now?" Ray stood and looked out the window toward the lake. It looked calm, beautiful even, but he knew better. "It's sleeping," he said, "but it's not done." Dana looked at Lily, whose eyes had closed again. "Do we destroy it?" Dana asked. Ray shook his head. "How do you destroy grief, pain that's soaked into the earth?" He turned to them. "You don't kill it, you contain it, you make sure it never grows again." Ethan stepped forward. "We cover the lake?" "No," Ray said. "We seal it. Trap the thing down there. Keep people away. Forever. Dana frowned. With what? Ray gave her a long, steady look. With a story. 2 weeks later, the town was already moving on. People said Lily had been found wandering in the woods, dazed but unharmed. No one questioned how she survived 5 months alone in freezing temperatures. No one wondered how her clothes hadn't aged, or why her eyes looked older than her years. They didn't want the truth. Ray stood at the edge of the water, watching the wind ripple across the surface. It looked normal now, safe, but he knew better. Beneath it, the root still pulsed, waiting, watching, and if the town forgot again, it would rise. He turned and walked back toward the cabin. Dana and Ethan were waiting there, maps and notebooks spread across the table. They'd been planning for days. Dana tapped a pencil on the map. I spoke to the zoning office. If we file the right paperwork, this whole side of the lake can be declared private land. No fishing, no swimming, no hiking. We build a fence. Put up danger signs, keep everyone out. Ray nodded. Good, that's step 1. Step 2, Ethan added, is the cover story. He handed Ray a printed article mock-up for the local paper. Dangerous algae bloom found in East Lake. Experts warn of toxic water. Ray smirked. Toxic algae, huh? Dana shrugged. It's believable. People will stay away if they think they'll get a rash or lose a pet. Ray sat down and looked them both in the eyes. This only works if we all agree. If any of us ever tell someone what really happened. Dana shook her head. We won't. I don't care if they call us crazy, Ethan said. It's better than someone else getting pulled in. Ray nodded. Good, because this thing feeds on emotion. It wants fear, sadness, grief. If someone hears the real story and starts obsessing, it'll find them. Like it did before. He paused, his eyes distant. It never needed to hunt. People came to it. That afternoon they started building the fence. They worked quietly, side by side, hauling wire and posts and signs. The town didn't ask questions. They were used to Ray being the odd old man who wanted to keep to himself. Now he was just that weird fisherman who bought up half the shoreline. Dana used her inheritance to help purchase the remaining land. People whispered, but no one dug too deep. Just like always, the town didn't want to know. Lily didn't go near the lake again. She was healing, slowly. Drawing, mostly. Pictures. Of trees, birds, and stars. But every now and then Ray saw it. Her hand would twitch, her pencil would hover, and a black root would appear on the edge of a page before she erased it quickly. She remembered everything. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Lily walked up to Ray's cabin alone. She didn't say anything at first, just sat beside him on the porch, legs swinging softly. Finally, she asked, "Are you still sad?" Ray looked at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" "The thing in the water. It liked your sadness," she said. "I felt it." Ray took a breath. "Yeah, I've been sad for a long time." Lily looked down. "I don't think it wanted to hurt us. Not at first." Ray nodded slowly. "Maybe not, but pain changes things. When you sit in it long enough, it starts to grow roots." She looked up at him. "Will it ever stop?" He didn't answer for a while. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photograph, faded and creased. A woman with a warm smile and dark hair holding a little boy. "My wife," he said, "and my son." Lily looked at the photo. "They were taken in a car crash. Long time ago, I never really let go." She nodded, understanding more than any child should. "That's why the lake called to you." Ray's jaw clenched. "Yeah, but this time I didn't let it win." She leaned against his arm, her head resting on his sleeve. Ray put the photo back in his pocket, staring out at the dark line of trees. The lake was hidden beyond them now, blocked off, fenced in, sealed with lies. But he still felt it. Underneath it all, something ancient and broken, waiting to be remembered. And one day someone would. 6 months later, the lake looked forgotten. The fence stood tall and rusted, stretching along the entire eastern bank, like a warning that nobody wanted to read. The algae bloom signs had been replaced with government-style markers. Restricted area, environmental hazard, keep out. It worked. No tourists, no campers. Even the kids who used to sneak out there to drink or make out stayed far away. The lake had vanished from the town's routines, pushed back into the shadows. But shadows don't go away. They just shift. Ray walked the shoreline every morning. It had become a ritual, a patrol. He wore boots and carried a flashlight, even in daylight, not because he expected trouble, but because part of him wanted to be ready if it came. He could still feel the lake inside him. Some nights the dreams returned. He was floating again. The water around him silent, the root twisting in the dark, and a voice whispering, not in fear, but in longing. You understood me. And sometimes he answered, not aloud, just with a feeling, a slow, deep ache in his chest, like a phantom limb. Grief doesn't just vanish, it moves in, and Ray had never really evicted it, but now he watched it. That was the difference. Lily had changed too. She smiled more now, laughed. Her drawings were full of light, though Dana told Ray she still talked in her sleep sometimes. Names, faces, places she couldn't have known, the other ones who were down there. Ray believed her. When she said they were still under the lake, sleeping, waiting, not dead but not entirely alive either, stored, like memories the world didn't want to face. One evening Ethan came to visit, taller now, quieter than before, but still sharp. "You ever think about burning it down?" he asked as they sat by the fire outside the cabin. Ray sipped his coffee. "You don't burn water. You know what I mean." Ray stared into the flames. "We'd just wake it up, maybe piss it off, and it'd reach further next time. We didn't kill it, Ethan. We made a deal. Kept it asleep for now." Ethan frowned. "But what if it wants more again? What if someone else hears it?" Ray nodded slowly. "Then we teach 'em to listen better." He reached into his old drawer and pulled out a thick notebook, handwritten. Pages stuffed with maps, sightings, journal entries done as research, even Lily's drawings. Everything they knew. "What's that?" "Our insurance," Ray said. "A record, a warning, in case I'm not around the next time it stirs." Ethan took the notebook in his hands like it was something sacred. Ray leaned back in his chair. "Stories keep people alive, and stories kill 'em too. Depends on what kind of truth you're telling." Ethan opened the first page. Scrawled in Ray's weathered handwriting was a single sentence. "Some things you bury, some things you trap, but never, ever forget where you put the key." That night, Ethan stayed at the cabin. The wind picked up after midnight. Across the forest, the trees rustled like they were passing messages. Somewhere in the dark, a ripple spread across the lake's surface, quiet, subtle, watching, waiting. But the lake didn't take that night, because it knew someone was still listening.